Ulonka tabati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun, lọ́ fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára rẹ̀.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Orisha Bami, and today we are joined by, once again, the master teacher, the master yogi, Master Yersir Ra Hotep. Peace and blessings, Baba. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, brother. How are you?
I can't complain at all, man. I'm here, ready to get this good work in. We're switching it up a little bit, doing something a little different with the midday live stream. So I know people might be at work. They might be, getting it in on the clock or getting the hustle on. But I figured, you know what, I still want to give it a shot and, go live and have this conversation happen because there's a lot that we have, to share and to discuss with the good people, man. So I want to go ahead and get it cracking today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's what's up. Shout out to Pacific Dogwood. Appreciate you joining us, family. This is my first midday live stream, so I didn't know how many people would be available, but I definitely appreciate you for joining us, bro. He said he was checking us out at work, so that's what's up. But yeah, real quick before we get started, Baba, shout out to Professor Smalls. Shout out to 36720 Sankofa 36720 study group for the event that's going on this weekend in Jacksonville. Professor Small will be here for the Africa Throughout the Ages tour, I should say presentation and lecture for Black History Month, but also just to celebrate the culture of African spirituality and African culture. So I'm looking forward to that. So shout out to Brother Umar and his whole team of sponsors and everybody who put this event together with the Africa Throughout the Ages event that's going down this Sunday. I'll be sharing the links for the tickets. Tickets are available for those who want to make it online on the website and on the channel. And then also the tickets for the replay be going up soon as far as the sales page for that, for people to buy the replay as well. So that's going down this weekend. So I look forward to chopping it up with y'all from Jayville. And then also shout out to Master Yersir for the tours and all the stuff that he has going on with the Kemetic Yoga site, with the programs, with the trainings, with the certifications, all the things that Master Yersir is putting together or has already put together in regards to the Kemetic Yoga space and traveling, across the seas and spirituality throughout the world, hence our title for today's show. So with that, Master Yersir, you want to share anything with the good folks, in regards to what we got going on?
Well, I think what we're going to talk about today is our collaboration in terms of, trying to get people to participate in travel, traveling to Kemet, to other parts of Africa like Ghana, South Africa, Ethiopia, to parts of the diaspora like Brazil, Jamaica, things like that, because of the fact that we need to be international people, because of the fact that even though we know that the original people on this continent where we are now were Black people, however you want to describe them, they were dark-skinned, pigmented, melanated people who were like us, and some of us who are here are actually descended from those original people, and many of us also were, brought here from Africa, and some of us even maybe traveled here, in voyages that Africans came to the Americas in pre-Columbus times, but essentially we are African people, and we should be international. We should be, creating connections with, from a cultural, social, political, economic perspective with people on the continent of Africa. We should be, developing our own ties and our own ties in terms of, conducting business and trade. And, we should be acquiring land and all kind of things, you know, that we can be doing in Africa. But the first thing we need to do is be able to go and travel there and take trips there and see what kind of opportunities are there. We also need to go there to learn about the culture, to learn about the environment, to meet the people. There, we need to dispel a lot of myths about traveling to Africa and about the relationship between Africans, African people on, you know, in America and African people on the continent and in other parts of the diaspora also. There's always been this narrative that Africans on the continent do not like Africans who have been the descendants of those who were taken from Africa. That there's this, you know, there's this fake mythological conflict or idea that we are not connected, that they don't like us, that they sold us into slavery and all this kind of stuff, you know. And so we need to educate ourselves to really dispel a lot of those myths. You know, we need to be able to go to Africa and see people who look exactly like us, who act exactly like us, who think and feel exactly like us. You know, and that's in every situation. You know, you're going to have people who think differently. You may have people who are more brainwashed, who are more miseducated, who are more misinformed, and so on and so forth, right? But, you know, so we have that a lot here, you know, as we can see, you know, with a lot of recent events that's going on. But we also, you know, that also occurs on the continent. But overall, when you travel to the continent, you are experiencing the greatest degree of hospitality, the greatest degree of welcome, the greatest degree of kindness and compassion, you know, when you travel to you know, when you travel into Africa, whether you're going to South Africa, whether you're going to Ghana, whether you're going to Tanzania, Ethiopia, you know, you are being welcomed there in these places, you know. Even going into Egypt, when you go into the southern part of Egypt and you go into the part which is now called Nubia or Upper Egypt, you know, and you see people who look just like you, they greet you, they call you my Nubian brother, my Nubian sister. They point at their skin and they say, we are the same, you know. So they have a consciousness that this melanated skin makes us have something in common that is connecting us, not just because of the color, but because of what that color represents and what the experience that we have had, not only in the modern times or in recent history, but also going back into thousands and thousands of years ago, and even going beyond into the origin of humanity. We are the original people, and all human beings, whether they are evolved, you know, in here or there, all originated in the same place, and that was in the cradle of Africa. You know, this is where we all emerged from before we started to move throughout the planet Earth, you know, and develop culture and society and civilization, language, science, so on and so forth. You know, we are the original people, and we went everywhere from Asia to Europe, to the Americas, to the Pacific Islands, Australia, New Zealand. We went everywhere, and we are the original people. And so to me, it only makes sense that we go to these places and that we explore and that we really expand our consciousness and our awareness of what does it really mean to be African, or what does it really mean to be indigenous, or what does it really mean to be native, or whatever type of term that you want to use. You know, we have connections, you know, and regardless of where we were born, we should see a unity between ourselves and people that look like us and look similar to us. You know, we are one family, as Sister Betty Jenkins, you know, was saying, you know.
I say. Yeah. Nah, that look, it reminded me of that song. Is it Frankie Beverly and Maze? We are one. Na, 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 na. I forgot that. I think it was Frankie Beverly and Maze and RP to Frankie Beverly, the legend, man. Yeah, that's real. And it's a real thing, you know, as far as the misconceptions too, because I remember when I was over there last year, like just like you said, the love was unbelievable. And it was like it was dope, man. It was almost like a family reunion, but on a international scale. You know what I mean? Like being in a whole totally different country, you know, a continent, I should say. And but the love and the reciprocity, you know, of love was there, and it was like, man, this is dope. And I ain't gonna lie to you, like the most profound thing I think that resonated with me the most is that almost month that I was there was the longest and the most like it was the longest continuous time I've ever spent in my life on this planet of being surrounded by nothing but us, like all melanated people. And I have never experienced that before. Like ever in life have I experienced being somewhere where everybody looks like me. You know what I mean? Where there was no influence, there was no colonialization, there was none of that, you know, the BS that we deal with here in the States. Like it was none of that. And it's just it's a culture shock, totally different culture. Even like the money, like to be able to look at currency and look at money and see our faces on the money, that's huge. Like that really did something to my subconscious because it's like if you were born and raised in America, all you know is looking at money as white people, as white men, and you know what I'm saying, on the dollar. Like that's everything. Every coin, every dollar, it's all them. But when you go to our continent and you see us representing, you know, on the currency and everywhere else you go, and you travel on the highways, the billboards, like everything. It was mind-boggling, but it was a beautiful thing to experience because it's something that I wish for everybody to get the opportunity to experience, you know, that opportunity of being surrounded by us, you know, and being able to kind of be immersed in the culture without any type of influence or any type of tainting of, you know, the pure greatness that is, you know, who and what we are as a people. So that was like one of the things that I took away the most. Like, yo, this is dope. Like, it was powerful.
Yes, sir. Yeah, all of those things are very positive aspects of travel, you know. And my travels, they take me to you know, many parts of Africa, but also to places like Brazil. I go to Brazil at least once a year, but now I'm sort of going 2 or 3 times a year because I really feel a strong connection to that place, you know. And Brazil, what's important about Brazil is that it has the largest population of Black people outside of Africa. So you have over 100 million people of African descent who live in Brazil, you know. And one of the things I try to look at when I go there is, you know, because I work with some historians and people who are more knowledgeable about the history of that land than I am. And one of the things because see, one of the things that, you know, one of the controversies that we have, and one of the things that kind of divide people in terms of these questions is, you know, indigenous versus those who were brought over here, you know, during the time of the transatlantic slave trade. And, you know, you have some people who try to say, well, you know, the transatlantic slave trade was a myth, you know, and it's like, you know, it's not a myth. This is something that happened, but that doesn't mean that there were not indigenous people who look like us, you know, here already before Columbus, before the transatlantic slave trade. And so what we have to do is sort of merge those two ideas together and stop fighting over it, you know, because people make these, like they try to make the term Afrocentric or African-centered into a negative term. And it's not a negative term. You know, it's just talking about, you know, it's given a relationship between something, but it's not saying it's not exclusive. It's not saying, oh, we only came from Africa. We know, there's been many scholars who have talked about the fact that the original human beings came from, the original human beings were us all over the planet. So it's not a controversy. The fact that you may be, that you may be a historian or a scholar that focuses on Africa doesn't mean that you have a negative connotation towards the idea of that there was that the native people, the original people in the Americas and other parts of the world also were Black people, and what you also have to bring into the mix is that there were waves of people who traveled from Africa prior to Columbus, and traveled across the oceans and established, and settled here, in the Americas. But America, Central America, North America, these are historical facts. So being African-centered or Afrocentric, as they say, that's not a negative. That's just somebody who's focusing on studying things,
Right.
And they just have an African-centered perspective. But at the same time, the idea that we are native people, we are native to this whole planet. Some of the, one of the greatest African-centered scholars was Ivan Van Sertima, and they did research into the African presence in Asia, the African, the pyramids and the temples of Cambodia and Southeast Asia, the Khmer people and so on and so forth. These were people who were Black. Those faces are Black faces. You talk about Runoko Rashidi, good friend of mine who I've traveled, to different parts of Africa with. He documented him. People like Wayne Chandler, Ivan Van Sertima, Sister Betty talking about Mansa Musa and stuff like that. I think his relative was
Abukari.
Abukari, right? And he took hundreds of ships, if not thousands of them, across the ocean and came into the Western Hemisphere. So we have to understand the complexity of our history, not just have a very dogmatic single type of
perspective.
Perspective. So with my, so with the tours that I try to, that I do, the travels that I do, I try to explore these things and really try to come to a unity. We don't need to be fighting. We need to be connected together. And when we travel to Africa, when we travel to Brazil, when we travel to the different islands in the Caribbean and stuff like that, we need to have a perspective that we are one with these people. And we need, and one of the things that these travels do is that it helps to cleanse you of your Americanness. Because oftentimes what you find is that when we travel to these places, we find that we have some of the same attitudes towards the people, the common people, that the white folks have. I call it the ugly American syndrome.
Can you say that again? You call it what? What is it you say?
The ugly American syndrome.
I like that.
Now, for y'all who's younger, you may not have heard the term of the ugly American, but this is the term that came out in the 50s and 60s that was describing how Americans would come to other places in the world and would display their arrogance and their feelings of superiority and talking down to people. And I've noticed Black people from America doing that when they travel to Africa, when they go to the islands, or when they go to Brazil or wherever, And so that's one thing. And so it gives you a chance to really become introspective and look at yourself and see what aspects of my own personality or my own makeup do I need to change, you know, because of the fact that I've been infected by this American virus, that even though I appear to be a Black person and I may even have on some African clothes and carry myself in a certain way, but I still have some aspects of my psychology that I need to change in order to truly be African. What does it mean to be African? And stop getting upset and the people that says we are the natives, they don't, we have to at some point we got to find some kind of word that we can use, African, whatever it is, that describes that. There's no one single word that describes the total experience. We are a global people, right? We are the original people of the entire planet Earth. The original people of Asia, China, were us, right? DNA, all of the science is demonstrating that. So if we just use the term, to me, when I use the term Africa, I am not talking about just the confines of this continent on the map that people call Africa today. To me, Africa is the entire world. Africa is a consciousness that goes beyond the borders of this one place that transcends all of the borders of the world, And so Africa is a consciousness. It's not just these borders. You could be African if you are native to Jamaica, if you're native to Trinidad, if you're native to Brazil, you are still African, because that is the original place where all human beings come from. It does not mean, you're only there because of the transatlantic slave trade. And that's something I'm, in my conversations with my friends and colleagues and stuff, that was a conversation I'm trying to have, because I think we have to articulate and work out these issues and these questions, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's real. And then I wanted to share too, one of the posts that I saw that you had put up, I think last week from, I want to say it was from Facebook, but it was powerful because I don't know if somebody asked you the question or Spirit led you to share it, but you were speaking about the term Kemetic yoga and like what, kind of inspired you to not just coin that term, but also to trademark that term for your, for your company and for your business, which I'll be sharing the link. Actually, I already shared the link to the website in the chat already, but I'll share it again in the chat throughout the live stream, and I'll put it on the show description as well. But I'm gonna share with the tribe, how deep your inspiration, motivation, and your purpose in this whole Kemetic yoga and, the African experience, in regards to everything that you just shared, in regards to how it's a lot bigger than just a continent, it's a consciousness. And I love that. That's actually a dope term too. But so to share that, fam, I'm gonna share this real quick. Baba Master Yasir coined the term Kemetic yoga decades ago in order to protect the unique system that he created based upon the studies and travels that were performed and the documentation of the internal practices of our ancestors. Even though we began with the term Egyptian yoga, it started with a certain group of individuals who have never studied with us. They never consulted with us or even spoken with us, and started to publish books using very poorly articulated representations of our ideas, practices, taken from the video called Egyptian yoga that had not been protected. Other phrases such as Smai Tawi were taken from the Senegalese master Babacar Khan, who started to use this ancient African term that means to unite for the philosophy of the practice of yoga from an African perspective in the 1960s. The initial articulators of Egyptian yoga, Smai Tawi, African yoga, and Kemetic yoga, who are Dr. Asar Hapi, Master Babacar Khan, and Master Yasir Rahotep, respectively, are if rarely ever properly accredited for the knowledge by the public, who have seen these terms as just as nebulous phrases that can be just used, twisted, manipulated into whatever form they so choose, often to make a profit. Numerous videos exist on YouTube produced by individuals who have zero connection to the Kemetic Yoga global movement and no real experience with the actual practice of Kemetic Yoga and no actual Kemetic Yoga content. The Kemetic Yoga movements and postures and the approach to the practice of movements, postures, and breathing, energy flow, diet, cleansing, fasting, and self-development are all the products from Master Yercier's scholarly efforts. And on my own internal discoveries and I'm paraphrasing Master Yercier, from practicing my unique downloads from the spirit world, rule of the four, breathing, geometric progression, Ma'at, the Ka, the Tekken sequence, morning ritual, Sesh pose sequence, goddess pose are some of the unique ideas articulated in the system I dubbed Kemetic Yoga. I did not learn these ideas from reading somebody else's work or reading someone else's books or watching their videos or taking classes, but from my own decades of intense study over 36 trips to ancient Kemet to experience the energy of the sacred sites where the spiritual essence of our ancestors continues today. My mission for many decades has been to train and certify people throughout the Africa and the Africa continent and the diaspora correctly, safely, and authentically in the actual system of Kemetic Yoga. In 2025, we are approaching the 20,000 mark in terms of the trained and certified instructors and literally millions of students who have been exposed to the practice of our global network of instructors. My goal is to create a legacy that lasts forever, not for me, but for our community and for our culture that needs healing, cultural reintegration, and spiritual reset that is provided by the system of cultural regeneration. I value and protect the truth of Kemetic Yoga like a mother lioness protects her cubs. I will never apologize for my fierce defense of this system of our people in this time of war, which has existed for over 500 years. Kemetic Yoga was born from our struggles in the 60s and 70s to be a tool of improvement of our health, our well-being, our ancestral and cultural and spiritual connection to fortify us in the battle for true liberation. Our goal was to combat the self-destructive lifestyle and the sedentary living, processed animal-based foods, and the adherence that is alien culture to our spiritual ideas that moved us further away from reconnecting with our African consciousness that the enslavers and colonizers broke in order to create docility and spiritual impotence. That's a very, very powerful, profound shoot. I don't even know what to call that. That's way bigger than a quote. That was a write up, a lecture, like a report, man. That was powerful, Master Yercier. Very powerful.
Yeah, what I find that I have to do, because I'm not a sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Phone ringing. As I move through life, I'm I know that certain things need to be said and certain things need to be tightened up. One of the things that I try to do is acknowledge people who have made great contributions to our struggle, but who have not been acknowledged. And also at the same time, I find I have to acknowledge myself and really tell the story, to document and get the story straight so that, things are being told in the way that they are supposed to be told, because, when I'm referring to people's videos and stuff on YouTube, somebody would come and just say, "Ooh, Kemetic Yoga, I'm doing Kemetic Yoga." And it's like, well, where did you study Kemetic Yoga? But they might just walk around with an ankh in their hand and then do Indian yoga, do the movements and postures because they holding the ankh. They call it Kemetic Yoga because they have looked at a video or something. They do something that looks Kemetic. So they doing stuff, and they just going through motions, and Kemetic Yoga. See, there are many forms of yoga, right? So you got Ashtanga yoga. You have Iyengar yoga. You have so let's take those two: Ashtanga yoga, Iyengar yoga. they have specific definitions about what they are, because people say, well, why, you put when you say the word Kemetic and yoga, it just means anything that came out of Kemet that you can just place into that category. But no, yoga has that type of definition that you can just put anything in it and call it. You can't just take any type of pose or concept or idea and then call it Ashtanga. Ashtanga yoga has certain principles. It was created by a person. The system was developed by a person named Patabi Joyce, and then he put in certain principles that says this is what differentiates Kemetic yoga from Ashtanga yoga, from this yoga and that yoga, right? BKS Iyengar, he created Iyengar yoga. And in Iyengar yoga means A, B, and C. So you don't mix in all these other types of yoga and then just use the term Iyengar yoga. You have to have the discipline to practice that system and understand that system versus another system. It's just like if you was doing martial arts, you wouldn't be doing jujitsu and then say, oh, I'm doing karate, or you wouldn't be doing judo and then say that you're doing aikido, they're not the same thing. So why would you mix all of this stuff up together? Now with Kemetic yoga, we have Kemetic yoga, which are the exact movements and postures which are unique to our ancestors of ancient Kemet. But within that, we also have what we call yoga skills method, which is the methodology of doing Kemetic yoga and of doing yoga in general. Okay, so yoga skills method includes Kemetic yoga, but also includes the philosophy and approach to the practice of yoga. So yoga skills method is another term that I coined along with Kemetic yoga, because of the fact that when you are practicing yoga, there are certain skills there are certain skills that you should achieve from your practice that you can incorporate into your actual life. Okay. So when you practice yoga, it shouldn't just be, okay, I'm lengthening my hamstrings and I'm strengthening my abdominal muscles, which is the approach that most yoga takes. When your yoga skills method means that you are gaining certain, you are developing certain psychological and interpersonal faculties that you can then use to apply to make you more successful in other aspects of your life. So your personal life, your professional life, your spiritual life, so on and so forth, right? Because you're doing the practices in a certain way. So what is unique about Kemetic yoga as we practice and teach it, and to yoga skills method as we practice and teach it, is what we call rule of 4 breathing. That means that when we breathe, that the natural component of a single breath is 4. Inhalation, or pause after the inhalation, exhalation, and then a pause after the exhalation. So that's why we call it rule of 4 breathing, because each breath is divided into 4 parts. And there's nothing really revolutionary about that. It's just acknowledging the logic of when you breathe. You breathe in. Before you exhale, there's a space before you exhale. And then you exhale. And then before you inhale again, there should be a space. So what we do with that concept of rule of 4 breathing is to make that a very conscious effort on the part of the practitioner. And what making that a very conscious aspect on the part of the practitioner does is that it makes you very, very conscious. It makes you very, very aware. And it also gives you control over your breath, which in turn gives you more control over your thought, right? Over your thoughts. Because what we say is that the more you control your breathing, the more you can control the physiology of your body, the biochemistry, which in turn allows you to control or affect the biochemistry of your brain, which then allows you to control your thoughts and your emotions, and really get to the point where you are shaping your own consciousness, you know. And so Rule of 4 breathing is very, very important from a whole lot of perspectives. When you start to break it down, you start to break down the science of what it means to really breathe. And why do certain, why is it in the martial arts that you're supposed to control your breath? Why is it that in meditation, you're supposed to control your breath? Why is it that in various types of trainings, from athletics to even military training, you're trained to control your breath? Because there's this connection between controlling your breath and consciousness, right? So, Rule of 4 breathing and then geometric progression. We recognize in Kemetic yoga that the movements and postures that our bodies go through, when, you know, in terms of the movements, in terms of, because all yoga is not just physical, but I'm just going into the physical aspect of it in terms of how do you perform your movements and postures. You do them in a manner which is geometric. If the purpose of you doing your movements and postures is to develop your body, is to allow your body to gain a greater level of alignment. That alignment is important because that alignment helps to facilitate the flow of your blood circulation. Okay, if your back is hunched, if you have tension in your shoulders, you know, if your neck is, if you have these different deformities or abnormalities in your body, it cuts off the flow of blood. Blood carries your oxygen. Blood carries your nutrients. The blood is not going to be able to get to your brain to make you alert to the degree that you need to be successful in everything else that you do if the blood can't make it through there, right? So if that muscular tension is there, the blood can't make it. If your body is misaligned, you're going to have a cutoff in the flow of nerve energy. You have your nervous system, you have your central nervous system, you have all of your peripheral nerves that go and feed into all the organs and different muscle groups and so on and so forth throughout your body that are connected from the central nervous system. And so you have to, so you do not want to have a disruption. You do not want to have like a vice, like tension in your muscles is going to be like a vice squeezing on those nerves, squeezing on those blood vessels. That's going to prevent the flow of that blood and the flow of those nerve signals, right? And if they get severe enough, then you're going to have pain, and you're going to eventually go to the doctor, and they're going to give you a diagnosis. They're going to put a word to it, but the origin of all of those different diseases or ailments, whether you're talking about rheumatism or arthritis or sciatica, is all comes from there is too much pressure on a nerve, too much pressure on a blood vessel, and so on and so forth. So when we say geometric progression, we are taking the body in the way that the body is made. The body is made geometrically, and we working with every joint. We working with each finger. We working with the hand, the palm. We working with the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, the neck, the vertebrae, cervical vertebrae of the neck. We're working with the entire spinal column. So when you see somebody doing Kemetic yoga in the way that it is supposed to be done, you can see that it is very distinct. And you can see that the way that that person does it is very different than if you saw Ashtanga yoga, or if you saw Iyengar yoga, or if you just saw Vinyasa flow yoga. It looks different because it is based upon how we see the images of our ancestors performing movements and postures on the walls of the temples of Kemet. So when we go to Kemet, we look at the walls, we look at the images, and we show you this is yoga, and we explain why this pose is yoga. Now, a posture or pose that you see on the walls of the temple, you may see somebody symbolically doing a certain position and so on and so forth. One of the mistakes that people make is that they think in a mono way. They have blinders on. They think that things in Kemet, they think that symbols and images that they see in Kemet only have one meaning to them, the literal meaning. But what we know is that there is a literal exoteric meaning, and then there is an inner spiritual esoteric meaning to everything. There's dual meaning, sometimes there's triple, quadruple meanings to the same image that you're looking at, to the same symbol that you're looking at. And so we can see the language of yoga expressed in the images of our ancestors, both in the images of the human body that we see doing certain positions, and also in the symbols that we see, like the Ankh, the cobra or the Wajet, the snake, the Uchat, the eye, so on and so forth, So we see, so what we try to do is try to break these things down and interpret them. And we're not bound by, there's only a single explanation for what we're looking at. And then the other part of it is that, once you begin to really practice Kemetic yoga using the techniques of rule of 4 breathing, geometric progression, you apply them, you will find that it opens up the channels within your physical body and your spirit body, which coexists with your physical body, and allows you to have a greater connection and communication with those aspects of reality which are unseen. And so your psychic abilities, your ability to have more greater insight and understanding, your ability for precognition, for telepathy, all of those things that in this culture they try to cut you away from by calling them ESP or calling them the devil, right?
I was just having a conversation with my barber about that, literally, like about how deep that goes with the psychology of how they try to demonize all of our, practices, our spiritual practices. And I was telling them, I was like, man, it's all about control. Because think about it. I was like, what if you had the ability to influence all of the people in the state of Florida and tell them that every other barber in the state of Florida is a demon and a devil and they're demonic, they're zombies, whatever you want to say, and you had the influence to get people to believe you? Imagine how long your line would be lined up around, around the whole neighborhood for people to come to just you, because you've been able to condition everybody to think that everybody else is a demon, or everything else that every other person does is devilish or demon, so it's like demon-like. So it's like That's what they've done to all of our culture. They've tried to demonize it so they can weaponize it in order to condition us and to keep us in that docile, that real, just like zombie type of mentality, and it's sick, but it's the truth.
Right. And so, and so they see, we all have natural abilities. Like in this Western culture that we are raised in, they say that you have 5 senses, right? And they say science only knows 5 senses, and anything that goes beyond the 5 senses is either your imagination. That's what the scientists say. Any extra thing that we call above the 5 senses, that's your imagination, or that's something that's only related to your brain chemistry, right? So you're imagining and your interaction of your brain chemistry with the environment and so on and so forth, right? And then the religious people, they say, oh, well, that's the devil. The devil is talking to you and trying to deceive you by allowing you to be able to know something before it happens, right? To being able to predict something or to feel something or to really receive information about truth or reality, right? So they say that's the devil. But the real scientists, they call it quantum science. They call it quantum physics, right? Because quantum physics is observing the characteristics and behavior of matter and energy, not from the level of the atomic level or the physical level, but on the subatomic level. And the rules that govern what we call physics from an atomic level do not apply to what we see when we look at subatomic reality. Okay, hope that makes some kind of sense. But on a subatomic level, we don't, we see that all types of things are more possible that we would call impossible, like for something to appear and then disappear, for something to be in 2 places at the same time. Okay, so the ability to be in 2 places at the same time, the ability to know things before they happen, okay, the ability to communicate with another person or being without having to use words or use physical sounds, or to do this on an energetic level, right? All of these things are predicted in understanding what they call quantum physics. And that's what our ancestors was working on. When you're working with your yoga, your deep meditation, your Tai Chi and Qigong, and all these things, you're operating on the level of quantum physics. When you're working with the Ifa, right? I hope that ain't my field, but I'm saying when you're working with the traditional African systems of spiritual science, you're working on a quantum level. That's why they can't understand what's going on, okay? Because we are operating on a level which is above and beyond the level that they want us to operate on. And so yoga, and so there's a commonality between yoga, and meditation is part of yoga. Meditation is not separate than yoga. When we do kinetic yoga, if we're doing poses and movements and postures, we are doing them in a state of meditation. When we sit down and we do our still meditation, we are still meditating, and we are meditating as much while in motion as we are while in stillness. And that's what people need to understand, because there's this dichotomy: meditation on this side, yoga on that side. It's if yoga and meditation are two separate things, right? And so there is a unity, from my perspective, between the practice of yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, and also Ifa, and all the whatever names that occur for what I just call traditional African spiritual science. To me, they all operate on the same level, on this underlying level that is really the overlying level, but it's sort of like that hidden level. So it's like what the name Amen means in the Kemetic language. It means that which is hidden, that which cannot be seen. But we know that the most powerful force is those things that we cannot see, right? So in science, in astrophysics, they call it dark matter, right? And they call it, when you look off into space and you see darkness and it looks like it's just emptiness, according to astrophysics, that emptiness is full of something which the eyes and the telescopes cannot see, but they can be detected using certain, methodologies. And that's what they call dark matter. And so in the Kemetic concept of the dark matter would be Amen, that which is hidden, that which cannot be seen. And that's how this idea of the unseen evolved into what in Islam they call Allah. So you never see a image of Allah, because Allah is not supposed to be portrayed and all those type of things, right? So, so we had to make those correlations. And that's why we travel to Kemet. That's why we travel to Ghana. When we go to Kemet, when we go to Ghana, when we go to Brazil, when we go to when we go to Ethiopia, it gives us an opportunity to examine the ideas and concepts that exist in the spiritual seat, in the spiritual sciences, So they don't practice. We as Black people, African people, Native people, Indigenous people, whatever you want to call us, we don't practice religion. We practice spiritual science, because the sciences that we practice have a result that can be manifested in the physical world. Okay, it's not just a belief. Oh, I believe this. My faith tells me this. And all that kind of stuff, right? You're working with a science that where you can affect the physical world, where you can affect the material world using non-physical, energetic means, right? Coming from the mind, coming from consciousness. And you can know information. You can bring information into you, right? And so you hear a lot of people, they may smoke some weed, they may take some little, mushroom stuff, and they say, oh, I had a download, I'm not saying they don't have downloads, but, it's much more to the science of actually making that connection to the spirit world than just being high. And then saying, oh, whatever thoughts or feelings or emotions or ideas that you received or came into your mind because you was as a consequence of being high. You know, so the thing with yoga is that you're not using a substance at all. You know, every system is different. But with yoga, you're using your breath, which is your own natural internal energy and your own natural interaction with the environment, because we are enveloped. We are enveloped in a medium of air, which we cannot see. We cannot even notice. We're breathing air, but air doesn't even have a smell that you can. There's something. It might be things in the air that you can smell, but air itself is odorless, right? And so, but this is, so this powerful force that we are enveloped in, that we cannot even live without for more than 5 minutes or unless we are going to expire, right?
Yeah.
At the 5 minutes. But we never pay attention to the power that is imbued in this substance that we cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot smell, we cannot hear. When we hear wind, that's not the air. We don't just hear air, right?
Yeah.
We hear the wind, but that is not the same as hearing air, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, but we can experience the breath, the air, what in ancient Kemet was called shu, through using the science of proper breathing. And that's what we do with Kemetic yoga. We not only experience the true power of the breath, but we also utilize that power to allow us to change reality for us, to create our health, to create our well-being, and to create our own consciousness. Because one of the things that we as human beings are instructed to do by our ancestors and by those forces that inhabit the spirit world is to liberate ourselves from the deception that is created in our consciousness by the events that take place around us. Events that cause us to have fear, events that cause us to have anxiety, events that cause us to have anger, events that cause us to have insecurity, events that cause us to have hatred of others, and so on and so forth. All of these different forces that shape that consciousness is coming from our society and the cultures that we live in, right? So under the religious system that dominates in the Western world, we are taught to feel guilty. Oh, I feel this way, so I should feel guilty about that, right? I'm attracted in this way to something. I should feel guilty about that, right? So when you do something that makes you feel guilty, oh, I committed a sin, and so my sin, I have to go to this person and confess my sins to him so that he can talk to God, and then I can be forgiven. It's called a game. It's called running game on people, And so oh, I have to go and be have them put this water on my head and say these words, or else when I die, I'm going to go to hell and burn for eternity. You know, so they use that fear, they use that guilt to control us. And so for me, in my opinion, from my perspective, we are instructed by ancestors, and we are instructed by the divine forces to go beyond and overcome those, you know, that type of consciousness, and to create our own consciousness in a way that actually allows us to have power and allows us to really relate to divinity in the way that divinity is supposed to be related to. And that's what Kemetic yoga is. That's what Kemetic yoga does. You know, that's what Kemetic yoga does.
Sure. No, that's powerful. And the tribe is loving it, man. Like a lot of powerful information. And it's like I can't say enough how many times I've been in nature, like in practicing spirituality or, you know, in communing with spirit, and like spirit makes its presence known. Like literally, there's been times when I'm speaking to people or even divining, and the wind will pick up at certain levels of, you know, the message that's being delivered. I'm like, yo, you know, that's spirit speaking to you, right? Like it's been multiple rituals that I've done out, you know, in nature, and you can feel the elements play a part or play a role in whatever, you know, is going on in regards to that particular ritual, whether it's an offering, whether it's, you know, a divination or whatever the case may be. I've been able to feel the presence of nature, and it's actually made its presence known by the subtle, you know, calmness of the wind blowing, or maybe the wind might even blow with a little sense of force, or the clouds coming over to give us, you know, shade for, you know, a certain period of time. Raindrops might fall in regards to you know, what's going on, but it's a very powerful, very powerful connection, you know, that we have with nature. And then even when you look at the Neteru, you know, the Netures of Kemet, they're called the Neteru because of the foundation of nature, you know. And so it's real deep, you know, in regards to how deep we go and how deep our ancestors have paved the way for us in regards to showing us everything that you just broke down in real time, especially in like the hieroglyphs, you know, in regards to the pyramids. And I was just giving an analogy, I want to say last week, I was doing, I think it might have been a divination. I was saying how, you know, the Odu in E5, the Odu E5 is not much different from the hieroglyphs of ancient Kemet. I'm like, because you would have to be a scribe who can not only create the hieroglyphs that are, you know, on the pyramid walls and that are, you know, that are engraved within a lot of different monuments in ancient Kemet, but you would also have to know exactly what that particular deity or that particular pose or whatever it is you're looking at. And so for me, I was trying to paint the picture about the Odu and how that's also connected to the Orisha, just like the hieroglyphs are connected to the Netures. So it's like somebody who has any sort of like history or genetic, you know, DNA that, you know, are of melanated descent, we're going to naturally be gravitated towards the pyramids, and we're going to naturally be gravitated towards the hieroglyphs because it's encrypted in our DNA. And then also that's in turn what can kind of help us to identify different aspects about the hieroglyphs. So if you know who Imhotep is, if you know who Asar is, if you know who Aset is, if you know who Heru is, you're going to know when you see that symbol that even if you can't interpret what that message is saying, you're going to know who's saying it or who it's about, because you can interpret who that being is. And that's what I was sharing with them in regards to the Odu. The same thing with the Odu. If you have an Odu that's, let's say if it's Oshe, like that's going to be talking about Oshun. Or if it's Obara, you're talking about Shango. So it's like we can tie messages to deities or to items or things based upon the correlation that we can kind of, you know, make internally with the communication that's already embedded within us, that's encrypted within us because of our genetic, you know, bloodline, our genetic spiritual makeup. So it's deep, man. And everything that you're saying, it's like it's resonating with everybody, because like one sister said, I think it might have been Sister Betty was saying, and if it wasn't, forgive me for whoever it was, but they were saying, I think they had to have surgery, and they were doing some of the work that you were talking about, and that it's made a huge difference in regards to them, you know, being able to kind of overcome that surgery. So it's a very profound, you know, practice and very profound, you know, healing modality that we, you know, we have access to, that we've been blessed with, man. So I definitely salute you and the work that you're doing, with this. And I can't wait to get my training on so I can learn, how to utilize this practice as well.
Yeah, and that's the practical application of these things. I'm having surgery, but now my surgery is better, or I'm getting a better, even though I need this surgery, my outcome from it, my chances of recovery, my chances of a quicker recovery and a better, fuller recovery are enhanced because of the fact that I've been doing these practices. See, and that's what people don't understand. Sometimes, sometimes we get so dogmatic. We say, "Oh, I'm not even going to have a surgery." Well, maybe sometimes you might need surgery. Our ancestors invented surgery.
Yes.
They were doing surgery on the brain, surgery on the eyes. They were doing all kind of different surgeries. So the key of it is knowing, it is knowing what you need to have, and then helping your body to recover and heal from it. Everything is about balance. It's not about dogmatic thinking, And so you have to find balance, When you're raising children, you might have children who have special needs. You got to make decisions.
Yeah.
And a lot of our work has been with working with children with special needs, children with the elderly, the so-called elderly,
population.
Yeah, people with substance abuse and addiction and things like that. All of those things are things that we can utilize Kemetic yoga for. And when I say, and I specifically use the term Kemetic yoga, because when we're working in our communities with our people, we have to be working from a cultural perspective that, number one, that they can relate to, right? Because today you got white folks who they doing yoga and they saying, "Oh, this yoga is culturally sensitive or culturally," I forget all the terms they use, right?
Yeah.
So they try to say, well, this is yoga that you can utilize when you're dealing with different people of different cultures, right? And I forget the term, I'm sort of spacing on it. But the thing about it is that Kemetic yoga by its nature is like that. Kemetic yoga by its nature is what you would call trauma informed. So we don't have to have we got to have a trauma informed class so we can work with the people who have experienced trauma. The practice of Kemetic yoga itself was developed in order to heal the trauma that we have experienced throughout history, and that is operating within us on a subconscious level, on an energetic level, on a spiritual level. How do we overcome this trauma? How do we overcome the self-destructiveness that is a consequence of our experience of that trauma? So our substance abuse and our reliance upon substances that we have to take on a daily basis just to make it through the day. Okay, that is an outcome of the trauma that we have experienced. And so how do we wean ourselves and bring ourselves away from that? So there is a science to doing those things, to recovering. When we do Kemetic yoga, we don't use the methodology or the ideas that come from India. We don't talk about Shiva. We don't talk about what's his name, the blue man. We don't use their deities and their ideas, right? Use ourselves. So we use the story of our Tsar.
Yes, sir.
We use the story of our Set. We use the story of Heru. We use the story of Heteru. We use the story of Ma'at. We use the story of Tehuti and Seshat, you know, and we talk about Shu and Nut and so on and so forth, right? And these are our models that we use as our archetypes that allow us to have a guidepost upon which we can build our consciousness. And so we use those stories that the white folks call mythology, right? But we use those are models, those are stories that we use to give us insight and wisdom that allow us to then understand how things in the universe operate, how psychology of a human being operates, how to avoid the pitfalls that a human being can fall into, and how to overcome and rise and become resurrected and overcome the depths of depression and oppression, and how to recover ourselves even from a state of being conquered, you know. So if you're working with our children who feel defeated, who feel hopeless, if you're working with our adults who are addicted to substances, you know, using these stories as archetypical examples from our own culture, instead of giving them, you know, the Christian, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, you could use Christianity in a very positive way. You could use all these religious ideas and concepts in a very positive way. But what we don't recognize is the power of what we can draw from our own ancestors and how we can use those in very powerful ways that may be more powerful than anything else. And also recognizing that those other stories, Jesus, this one and that one, it came from our own, it's a plagiarism from our own legacy. Yeah.
It's a stolen legacy.
So let's go to the source instead of going to going to something that's
it's a copy.
Yeah. Whitewashed.
Yep.
You know. And so that's what we say, you know. And if we're going to practice, you know, if we're going to practice Christianity, then practice in the right way. You know, understand that this person who they call Jesus is based upon a person who had this type of complexion. You know, yes, and what did he really say versus the mythological things that they said he said.
That part.
You know, and then so if you're going to choose that model, then choose it, you know, from a place of authenticity and not from a place of how it was used by oppressors to keep people down. If I am a Christian, for example, I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel like, oh, when I was born, I had a stain on me called original sin, right? That's game. That's the game they try to put on you because they try to say that you got this spiritual mark, negative mark on you, that the only way that you can remove this mark and be able to go into the afterlife after you die and go into paradise is if you adhere to this system with these people who are in a hierarchy of authority and power over you, right? That's the game that they playing, right? And only this person can take you through a ritual that's going to absolve you from that original sin. You know, that's game. You know, I went to Catholic school. You know, I went to Catholic grade school for 8 years. you know, and then I went to Catholic high school. When I was in high school, you know, I freed myself from all of that type of indoctrination. I would say I was never even indoctrinated because I never believed it.
Mm.
It never made any. When I was in second grade, we had a class, they called it catechism.
Mm-hmm.
And the you know, they was teaching us about the Immaculate Conception. Now, if you told me about the Immaculate Conception from the Kemetic perspective, I could say, oh, okay. You know, she was doing some magic stuff and she did this and did that. And she, you know, but when you talk about it from the biblical perspective, I say, no, that's I told the nun who was teaching the class to us, I was in second grade, I said, no, in order to have a baby, a man has to have sex with a woman, and his sperm has to go to her egg and call it, and you know, make a reaction within the egg, and then the egg starts to, you know, it becomes something else, and then it starts to multiply, and it eventually turns into a baby that turns into a human being, and so on and so forth. And why did I know that? Because I saw it on public television. I saw the little movie they had where the egg underneath the microscope, you know, the sperm and the egg united together and stuff like that. So when I told the nun that, I was in second grade, she just slapped the hell out of me. You know, because they thought if they could use violence, that they can just violently beat their reality into you. But all they did to me was say, I'm finished. I'm through. So from that time onward, I never believed none of their stuff, you know. So, and I think that's how we have to be. We have to be rebellious against all of this stuff, you know. This indoctrination, you know, if you look at the current political situation that we in, they want to, you know, these people, they want to extract everything, the little bit of Black history, African history, real reality history, whatever, anything that's real, whether it's scientific, whether it's historical, social science, whatever it is, they want to extract that out, you know, because they feel like, because they operate out of fear. They feel like they're so under threat by the rise of people who have melanin that they have to try to create this oppressive system that they're trying to implement, that they're trying to put in place, but it's going to fail eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's real. And Babylon is definitely falling. It's crumbling down and it's falling apart right before our very eyes. And I'm looking forward to you know, seeing how everything unfolds. But I do want to share like some of the tours and like the details of the tours for the tribe who might be interested. Master Yasir, with that, should I start with Ethiopia, or where would you like me to go in regards to like letting them know about some of the different, you know, different tours and different trips that's scheduled?
But I guess if we go in a chronological order, Ethiopia would be first. Okay. So we have Ethiopia coming up, which is going to be April. And I don't know if we got the dates there, but I think it's like April 19th.
Yes, sir, to the 30th. Yeah, April 19th to April 30th, 2025.
Yeah. And so we're preparing for that trip now. And so this trip, Ethiopia is, you know, very significant because that land has been identified as the place where the oldest, and I'm gonna couch this in what I think is a proper language, the place where the oldest known remains of a human being, of a modern human being, has been found. So our earliest ancestor, right, of people that look like us has been found, right? And so when we go there, we're going to visit museums. We're going to visit archaeological sites. We're going to visit cultural sites, so on and so forth, related to ancient Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a place that has never been conquered and colonized by Europeans, right? And so it holds a very significant place in our global culture. It's a place that was looked upon by, people who are now called Rastafarian, as being, related to this idea of Zion, this idea of representing this place that was unconquerable, and so on and so forth. Also, they have certain types of architecture of churches that are built what they call rock-hewn churches. And so the earliest Christianity, African Christianity, came out of Ethiopia, so anyway, so
yeah, they got a lot of historical sites.
Yeah, I was going to say the food is phenomenal too. So you're going to get the chance to really eat real Ethiopian food,
Listen, the museum, I was doing like once we spoke about what we're doing, man, I started doing my research and I was looking at all the different places. Like that museum alone to me is worth the trip, because you get to see, they got the displays of Haile Selassie. They have I think they got the displays. I don't know if it's the actual oldest human remains or it might be a replica, but they have that on display. Like they have some very powerful exhibits in that museum, and I cannot wait to get there, to see and to experience all of the culture and all of the energy and the ashe, that is, because Ethiopia, is like the genesis. That's like the baby, the cradle of humanity. You know what I mean? And you can quote that by researching Dr. Ben's work, Dr. Clark's work. There's so many of the elder scholars who laid masterful work down for us to pick up, and pick up where they left off with putting the information and putting the knowledge out there, but that they work so, diligently to put in place for us. Sheikh Anta Diop, there's so many different masterful scholars who have laid, the foundation for us to build on, in regards to their work, and without a shadow of a doubt, identifying the true core, progenitors of the human race, which was our ancestors, that you can find over in Ethiopia. Well, that's where it started, and of course, throughout the globe.
And what's important to understand about Ethiopia, see, we who live in the United States, we see when we see Ethiopians, we don't see the variety of Ethiopians that are actually there, right? We're gonna go to the Omo Valley, and we're gonna see people. We're gonna see the Mercy people. We're gonna see people that we don't see when we go to the Ethiopian restaurant, and those are great people, and it's phenomenal, but we're gonna see a wide variety of beauty when we go to the mountains, when we go to Lake Hawassa, and we sail on the lake, and we see the hippopotamus and the crocodiles and all the different types of animal life that they have. When we go into the rainforest and we see the trees and the different animals that exist there, and the different varieties and groups of people that's there, people who are living in nature, and who have retained their original culture, and we can go and interact with these people, there's such a huge variety in Ethiopia. You're going to see modern cities, modern highways, clean places, uncluttered. It's gonna completely change the stereotype that a lot of people have in their consciousness about what's in Africa. You're not going to see nobody starving with flies on their mouth and their stomach, sticking out. You're not going to see crazy stuff like that. You know, in fact, I've never seen that. I've made 60 trips to Africa. I've never seen anybody in that type of condition. You know.
Me either. And you know what? I hate to say this, but I have to say this to be perfectly honest. And I haven't been to nowhere near as many places as you have, but the few different countries that I have been to in Africa, I've actually seen more homeless people or more people of this, you know, in a disparaging, a despair than I did when I was in Africa. Like by far, honestly, not even close. You know, how many people I could drive around the corner, you know, from my house to go to the grocery store and see somebody who, you know what I mean, might be living homeless or you know, doesn't have a place to live. And I'm not saying I live in the most luxurious neighborhood in the world, but I don't live in the most, you know, the most raggedy one either. You know what I mean? But it's like I see more of that here in the United States than I do in Africa, and especially in California, where they got a whole, you know, epidemic of people who are homeless with, you know, the way the prices and homes and all that stuff is out there in Cali. So it's like it's all forceful conditioning, you know, that we've unfortunately been, you know, they've been trying to indoctrinate us with. But that's a
Yeah.
real thing.
Well, you see, in terms of homelessness, you see more homeless in, like you say, in the U.S. When I go to Paris,
Mhm.
the first thing I notice when I get to Paris is that it stink. It smells like piss. Okay.
I've heard that, man. I've heard it's bad too. Like the stench.
Yeah, and you know, because people, you know, I ain't even going to all the reasons.
Yeah.
But
Listen, everybody watching, they know.
Yeah, going to London, you know, you see homeless in Paris. You see homeless people. In London, you see homeless people. Now, I went to South Africa, and I went to a city called Pretoria. Pretoria is a city where the cracker, like the one that's running all this shit now, you know, what's his name? Musk, whatever, however you pronounce it, you know, I ain't gonna, you know, I'm gonna pronounce it my way, you know, you know, whatever, you know. But anyway, so Pretoria is a city which is a stronghold for the Afrikaners, right? So that's their city. When I went there, they were homeless. They were strung out on meth, or whatever type of drug, dirty land in the street. And the Africans was walking around in shirts and ties and stuff. And these Afrikaner white folks, they was laying on the ground begging from these Africans. You know, you have a tremendous homelessness problem with, at least it appeared to me from just looking at it, amongst the whites there. And they seem to be all on drugs and alcohol and stuff. You know, I don't know what their problem is, but then you got this buffoon, this pretend smart person, you know, who just made a lot of money. His family made a lot of money exploiting Africans. Now he's over here talking about he's gonna cut this and cut that, and they're trying to make a law that says that they can bring all of the all the white South Africans over here. You know, they putting out all of the darker skinned people, and then we want to bring these other Afrikaners over here.
It ain't gonna happen.
Well, he already made it.
But that part might happen because they can control that. But I also saw the president said Trump can go F himself. Like he didn't say it in those words, but he pretty much said, screw you. Y'all not calling no shots for nothing over here. Like he pretty much like, nah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm just talking about what they talking about, what they trying to do. Yeah. Eventually, all the stuff that they trying to do is, you know, because they're buffoons, you know, to put it, you know, just bluntly, they're buffoons, and they're working against nature. They're working against the tide of humanity, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's like they're gasping. They're taking their last gas. Yeah. They're flashing around and stuff like that, trying to do something. But
a Hail Mary last ditch effort to try to muck up the planet, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And they, and they're gonna, I believe they're gonna do some damage. They're gonna, some people, people are gonna suffer from certain things that they're doing. But in the long run, their day is over, and that's it. And so what we need to do, we need to be traveling, we need to be learning and finding out. So if you don't have a passport, go get you a passport. Because they're gonna try to I anticipate they probably try to make it harder for you to have a passport.
Yeah, because they want to keep everybody here so they can do what they want to do, and be in control and manipulate.
Yeah. So get your passport and come travel with us to Ethiopia. We're going in April. So every April, if you can't make it this April, we're gonna go every single April. Okay, that's gonna be our time to go to Ethiopia and take that tour. And then after Ethiopia, in July, we have first thing we have in July is Soul Yoga Fest in Chicago. So that's going to be July, I think the 13th. It's on Saturday. So every second Saturday of July, every July on the second Saturday, that is going to be Soul Yoga Fest in Chicago. It's a free yoga festival. Health, wellness, culture, music festival that we put on in Chicago for the last 15 years. And so this Soul Yoga Fest is going to recognize my 50th year in the field of Kemetic yoga, right? And so last year, we had Queen Afua, and we honored her for her contribution and stuff, to our community, is through the things that she does. But this year we're going to focus on me, because somebody got to do it. So I'm acknowledging myself and my 50 years. So that's what I'm going to celebrate, 50 years. Okay. And so the other piece is that after that, we have our summer retreat in Jamaica. And so that's going to be, and again, I don't have the dates right in front of me. I don't know if you see them, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at them. Well, I put the link to the calendar, so they if they want to go to the Soul Yoga Fest. So each event or each thing that we spoke about, I put the link in the chat. But what was the last one you was talking about just now, Bubba?
Healing Sun Kemetic Yoga Retreat in Jamaica.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that.
So that's going to be we do that twice a year, and so that's going to be July.
Hold on 1 second. I'm pulling it up now. Okay. For some reason, I don't see the Jamaica one. I see Ethiopia. I see Ghana and Kemet, and I see Brazil.
Jamaica might be under teacher training and certification.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yep. I got it.
Because of the fact that in addition to it being a yoga retreat, and you get we have vegan food, we get fresh coconut water, we doing yoga every day, but you can also gain your certification in Kemetic yoga. Okay. And so that is going to be
I got it. It's the I just put it in the chat too. It's July 19th through the 27th.
Okay. Yeah, July 19th to the 27th. And then it's going to be Pete. I don't have the dates up yet. It's going to be Pete in January.
Okay.
Okay. So it's every July and it's every January. Okay. And so I call that an immersive experience where you will be able to get up in the mornings, practice Kemetic yoga, meditation, and really become immersed in the practice that you can learn for yourself. And you know, and you can learn to teach others. If you have any type of you know, a lot of times, you know, one of the greatest benefits of this is not like, okay, you want to become a yoga teacher, but you want to recharge yourself. A lot of times people come and they take this training because they're sort of in the doldrums, right? They're sort of like slowed down. They're trying to make a decision about what they're going to do next with their life and stuff like that, right? And so when they come to that retreat and they get an opportunity to really delve into their own self, to really start to heal themselves, to really detox, you know, physically and psychologically and spiritually on this experience, you know, they get new insights into what they want to do with their life and what their next phase is going to be. And so I've had a lot of people who have come there and they have discovered what they should do next. I've had a lot of people come there and they gained the insight about how to start their own business, how to change their career, maybe how to exit a bad relationship, maybe how to improve a good relationship. A lot of, you know, we have a lot of Kemetic in our community on a global level. We have a lot of children who were born after their parents came to the retreat, you know, because sometimes people are dealing with issues with, you know, being able to become pregnant and stuff. And they wind up coming to Jamaica with us and doing all that yoga and eating all of the healthy foods, avocados and mangoes and coconut water and all that stuff. Then whatever was blocking, you know, that ability to get pregnant is been relieved. And then so we have a lot of babies that was born right after their parents came, or one of the parents even came to Jamaica. Okay. So, and so that is a really, so a lot of, you know, so the trips that we're talking about, Jamaica is a yoga teacher trainer or yoga training course that you're taking in Jamaica. But when we go to Ethiopia, even though we may do some yoga practice, the focus on it is not being a yoga retreat. When we go to Ethiopia, it's not a yoga retreat. It is a tour of Ethiopia. And then maybe sometimes in the morning, we may practice some yoga, or maybe we may go visit a school or a social service organization where we may share Kemetic yoga with the people, you know, but it is not a yoga teacher training. So what I want people to understand is that when you come and travel with us, it's not a yoga retreat. Jamaica is a yoga retreat, but Ethiopia, Kemet, Ghana, those are not really yoga retreats. Those are experiences that allow you to get a greater insight and experience of different things that's going on in Africa. Okay. So Jamaica in August, that's when we go to Kemet. Okay. And so in Kemet, so that trip to Kemet, let me see, I'm looking at my it's called Land of the Pharaohs Tour of Ancient Spiritual Tour of Egypt.
Yep, I got it. It's I'll put the link in there for that one too. That one is gonna be August 3rd to the 14th, 2025, family. So I'll put the link as well in the chat, and then it'll be in the show description for the family who watches the actual episode upload as well. So I have all the links in the show description and in the chat for everybody, family, for every one of the tours, as well as to Baba Master Your Seer's website for any trainings or any courses or, you know, any of the information that we shared today. You know, you can go visit the website in order to get your certification training, if you want to do the online. And then you also do what, a couple of I think like live workshops is it per week? You do like what, couple, like one or two different workshops per week?
Transitioning that thing, but you can take our course online. So some people can't travel for whatever reason, so
Right.
of course they may want to just take the course. Now you can take the online course if you want to become a teacher and get certified at the 200-hour level. But if you do not want to become a teacher, you just want to learn Kemetic yoga and become immersed in it and work at your own pace. It's a self-paced course. If you want to do that, then you can take our online course, right? And so you're going to be learning all aspects of Kemetic philosophy, history, spiritual science. You're going to learn the techniques of Kemetic yoga, breathing, movements, postures, and so on and so forth. You're gonna, you can engage in specialized studies such as working with children. So we have a section of our course that allows you to learn how to teach yoga to children, which is something that's just very important. And see, the thing about this is that you're gaining skills that you can use to help other people. So you'll become a professional at you'll be able to operate as a Kemetic yoga instructor on a professional level. And so our certificate allows you to go into the school system, allows you to go into social service agencies, because we are recognized by the official bodies that regulate, yoga, because yoga is perceived as a profession. It's perceived as a professional service, right? And so you need to learn anatomy and physiology. You need to learn about safety and quality assurance, because you're teaching people things with their body. Every year, a lot of people get injured from practicing yoga. So our school, Yoga Skills School of Kemetic Yoga, is the only Kemetic yoga program which is going to allow you to go into school systems, right? Because when you go into a school, they're going to ask you, well, are you affiliated with the Yoga Alliance? And your school has to be, meet the standards that are laid down by the Yoga Alliance in order to become a member of the Yoga Alliance. Okay. And so that's why I trademarked the name Kemetic Yoga. And that's why I put our school with the Yoga Alliance, so that people who take our courses have opportunities to actually teach in places that other people who just take a kind of bootleg Kemetic yoga, or somebody with the word Kemetic yoga, and then they just paying money to somebody, and then they're not able to actually teach.
Master Yasir, let me ask you this, because I'm on the website now, right? And like I said, this is something that I'm looking forward to getting my training and my certification, because I can apply that, along with the other work that I do with Ifa in regards to healing, and just adding a whole nother tool to my tool belt, and another healing modality. So in regards to the training that I can get the certification, the certificate, which one would that be? Would it be the because I see like several different packages. So which one would be the one that me, or even excuse me, if anyone in the tribe or anybody who's listening live or who will see the replay, like or the upload, which package would be the one that we need to get in order to get the certification to be able to practice and work with it, but also to teach it?
Okay, so the online course, okay, the virtual course.
Gotcha.
Jamaica, that's a teacher training course.
Okay.
Now, the tours that we do, like I said, the tours to Kemet, those tours allowed you to be able to take the tour to actually learn the history of the philosophy and be there. But you can also, in conjunction with that, you can take the online course to get your practical experience with doing the movements, the postures, and learning the teaching techniques. Okay, so with all the online courses, we have videos and we have instruction with our training manuals. We have extensive training manuals. According to what I was told by the Yoga Alliance, we have the best training materials they have over 100,000 schools registered with them throughout the world. And I was told by people that work for them that ours was the best.
I sure. That's dope. Yeah, and I shared the links too in the chat and on the channel as well.
Yeah. So we do our virtual training, and we're very proud that we do our virtual training and that it's very extensive. And we're offering 2 packages. One is a 200-hour training, and over the coming months, we're going to be offering a 300-hour training so that you can have a 500-hour group that will allow you to to eventually be able to be one of our trainers also. Okay. So all of that is coming, and how that's going to work is going to be coming out in the coming months as we expand. Okay. Sure. So let's say you go to Kemet with us, right? If you go to Kemet, you will be able to train virtually, so you can go to for the same price. So you would be able to have access to our weekly classes, and when you'll be able to have access to our training manuals, our videos, and so on and so forth, and our weekly classes our live weekly classes. And then from there, and then you go to Egypt and you learn the history and the philosophy and all that kind of stuff, and you actually go and see many things. Then at the end of that experience, you would get your certificate. And during the trip to Egypt, you will have opportunity to do some of the yoga practices, in Egypt, along the Nile, on the cruise. We have a 3 or 4 day cruise that we take on the Nile. And during that cruise, everything is very, slowed down and smooth. So we have a lot of time to practice on the cruise, as we're going down the Nile River, But at the end of that experience, you would get your certificate that allows you to teach, right? So you can do your certificate virtually, or you can take any other trips, whether it's Ethiopia, whether it's Egypt, or whether it's Ghana, and you would get the same thing. In Ghana, we have more opportunity to take a day here and a day there, where we actually practice in Abri. We go to a place called Abri. forest. It's like a botanical. They call it botanical garden, but it's like the rainforest. I call it the rainforest. Because it's like, it's not like when I think of a garden, I think of like this little small place, but this is like a big many miles of forest, hundreds of thousands of trees and plants and stuff like that. Okay. So that's how that works. So if any of the tours that we do, you are able to get your certification as a practitioner and as a teacher of Kemetic yoga.
That's what's up. So if they go on the tour, that's automatic. Is now this is the last question. But if they go on the tour and they come, let's just say to Kemet, right? So would that be a separate price that the person would have to pay, or is that included in the price? Like once they say if they bought the Ancient Kemet tour in August, would the training and the certificate be included with the package or the price of the tour, or is that like an extra?
It's included.
Oh, okay, that's what's up.
It's included.
That's what's up. That's dope. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, we got to do it again, man, because I know you when do you leave? You leave out tomorrow, right? To go to
I'm going to Brazil tomorrow, the 15th of February, and I'll be back on the 1st of March.
That's what's up.
And I'm going, I'm going to do some, wherever I go, whenever I go anywhere, I always have to do some kind of teaching or something, but I'm primarily going there so I can, recharge myself and relax a little bit, and stuff like that,
That's what's up.
So, but also I'm going to be, when I'm there, I'm going to be looking at, I'm always, wherever I go, like especially like in places like Ghana, but also in Brazil, I'm looking at opportunities for us to have land or to have a presence there to live, because I think that it's important that we look at expansion. I don't say we should move out of America. I say that we should have options where we can go wherever we want to go, whenever we feel like going. And if we decide that we want to leave and go away permanently, we got that option. But we need to start setting up these things. We need to start to explore. We have opportunities to have dwellings built, houses built in Ghana, either in the country someplace or within the cities of Accra, within the city of Cape Coast, wherever, those opportunities exist. And I work with people in those, in Ghana who can make all of those things happen at a price which is much more manageable than building something from scratch in the United States.
Man, listen, I'm glad you said that, because shout out to Baba Ogun Tolu, the Balogun Shango, USA. We are working on something with his office to do the same thing, because he's connected over there. Well, he's connected all over Africa, parts of Africa, but in Ghana, and particularly, he's doing something very similar. With we'll be doing tours and things of that nature, but as well as the investing and buying land and properties, etc. And it's funny because I literally just had a conversation earlier today before doing a live stream with a client that same thing, was saying that they want to get some business, some properties, outside of the country, and Ghana was one of the top on the list. I'm like, yo, let me know, because I got a few different connections, with people that is doing that in Ghana. So the fact that you said that, that's divine, I feel like divine time and divine alignment, because even Brazil, that's somewhere I would love, to look into doing the same thing. So it's like, listen, we got to do another stream just on that alone, I think, because there's a lot of people who I've spoken to personally that I know are looking for other, countries to buy land, buy properties, or maybe even start businesses, but definitely to like buy properties because of what you just said. And that's facts.
Well, part of what I'm going to be doing when I'm in Brazil is meeting with some real estate people,
Sure.
So, so because I was tasked with some of my people, they tasked me with the job of
Uh-oh. You're on mute. You're on mute. Can you hear me? We lost sound. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened to the sound. Do you see anywhere where it said that you maybe accidentally hit mute? Or I hope the stream or the platform ain't messing up on me. Yeah, that's weird. We've been dealing with a, okay, there we go.
Yeah, my I think my knee hit the where it's plugged in at, and the slightest amount of movement, and then it, anyway. But yeah, I've been tasked with people in my in my community who want me to find somebody who can communicate with them in English about real estate opportunities. Because one thing you can do, you can even rent a place in some of these countries like Ghana and Egypt. You can rent places out for like, a few $100 a month, $500 a month. And even if you're not there all year, you can also have somebody else. You can use it as an Airbnb and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that it can be making you some money while you're not there. So all of these things have to be explored. We have to be open to doing, different options and being able to make a move at the spur of the moment, when the situation calls for it,
That part.
Yeah. It's about it's not about survival, it's about survival plus prosperity,
and having options.
Yeah,
having options and being able to be versatile and flexible with how we live and how we move. Yes, sir. No, that's what's up, man. I definitely I appreciate you taking the time, and as always, phenomenal feedback, phenomenal input from the tribe. I was, like I said, this is the first time I've done a midday live stream, but clearly I can see it's something that I could start doing more often because people are tuning in even during the middle of the workday. So now that I know that, I definitely look forward to sharing a lot more live streams and episodes during the middle of the day as well, instead of just in the evening. So that's a new revelation that unfolded today. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you, for the time joining us, sharing the jewels, the wisdom, the knowledge, the nuggets, and everything that everybody appreciates so much when you stop through. And then also, I appreciate the opportunity, to work with you to make this thing happen. With the tours and all the other things that we're working on, man. I give thanks, for the opportunity, and it's an honor and a pleasure, and I definitely look forward. I can't wait to take it to the next level, man, and make it do what it do.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make clear that you will be co-hosting with me these, co-facilitating with me these tours, so so we're going to be combining our efforts. Also, if you sign up through our brother, you will get $100 discount. Okay. So you would get a $100 discount on your on your trip, So what you should do is contact me or contact him, and you would get the instructions and the I don't know if we have it set up yet with the
code
that you need to have, but it should be within a day or so, I guess. That you will have those things. And so then when you register for one of the tours or one of the courses, you will be able to use that discount code.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're working on it. We had a Zoom call yesterday, and so we're working on getting it built out and set up, and and then also I'll look into like working on getting it set up on my website as well, so that so the tribe can get it off of there, because the more places that it's readily available, I feel like the more people who want to jump on it will do that. So I definitely look forward to it, though. I can't wait. Like it's definitely something. Man, it's a blessing, and I give thanks for the opportunity.
And what I want to say also is that our thing is to partner with people and then create our community. So if you're a person who has a network of people or you have a group, even if it's your family, you know, we can offer you a certain rate on the trips to accommodate, you know, your family members or your group, you know, where you can have a discount and stuff like that, or even earn a residual, or what you call it,
Commission.
A commission, yeah.
That's
on the people that you refer. So contact me or contact the brother, and then you know, we can discuss all of those things, all of those different options. You know, there are ways to reduce the cost if you're just so don't have your initial reaction to the, you know, you just see, oh, this costs this much money, and don't just think about, well, you know, there's ways of reducing that.
Absolutely. What is the real quick for those who, because I'm sure as people will probably ask me the question. So what is the number that somebody would be considered to be in a group package? Like, is it like, how many would they have to have? Would it be 3, 5, 9, 8? Like, what would be the number where they would qualify for the family or the group package?
You know, like, say if it's like, I would say two people, because if it's like a husband and a wife, I mean, you know, it's like people that's out here, you know, so I try to work discounts out for people, you know.
Gotcha.
You know, that's what I do, you know.
Okay.
So if you contact me, you know, you contact the brother, then we'll work out something, you know.
That's what's up. Yeah, man. So I'm looking forward. We're gonna make it do what it do, babe. We're gonna make it do what it do. Yeah. So with that, tribe, man, we definitely got it in, man. I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who showed up today. I appreciate all the feedback, all the positive comments, all the positive love, all the support. Shout out to the Brazil family. I saw the Brazil family was showing love to you over there, Master Yasir. Shout out to Book Spiritual Tea, and Kosi. Shout out to the whole tribe who came through today, man. Shot Goddess, everybody who came through, Bro Kansu, Sister Jenkins. Like, it's been a dope experience, and yeah, a new revelation about being able to do the lives and be able to tap in with the people during midday. So I'm gonna definitely add that to my to-do list to start doing these more often. But I appreciate you as well, Master Yasir, and safe travels, man. And I'll definitely be, you know, checking in with you just to make sure not only that you got there safe, but you know, how we can kind of get this thing, you know, to the next level and launching and getting as many people over on the tours as possible, man, so we can make it do what it do, you know, overseas too.
Okay, brother. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And it's always an honor and a pleasure. And then once you get back, you know, I'll definitely be running you down, man, so we can do another one to kind of, you know, prepare just to share, you know, the knowledge, the wisdom, and, you know, the understanding, overstanding, understanding, and understanding about how, you know, how necessary it is for us to experience our culture in real life in real time. So I look forward to that for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, family. So y'all, I appreciate everybody once again. And this has been another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Arisha Bami. Shout out to Master Yasir Ra Hotep. And we definitely look forward to seeing y'all soon. And we might have another live stream tonight. I'm not sure. I got to holler at Baba Karaday and see how his schedule is. We might double up today because, you know, we'll be heading to the Jacksonville event. So shout out to Professor Smalls again. I'm sharing more links to that episode, as well as shout out to Brother Umar and the Sankofa 72360 study group. We appreciate y'all. Looking forward to chopping it up with y'all. And we will see y'all on the next episode, family. We out. Peace. Odabo.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe ní gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your